To you all, welcome to Sunrise Day today. I'm Chamberlain. So,
good morning and welcome. I'm Kayla Megwa.
Today is July 31. It's the last day in the month of July. Good morning and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Okay, so what happens tomorrow? Well, one of those several venues that has popped up in the last couple of days, much more than ever, Eagle Square. That is where this is. So will there be some activity here tomorrow? What kind of activity will it be? Who knows? But of course, there are certain people who are taking measures, a preemptive one at that, to be sure that things don't go awry. So this, ladies and gentlemen, as you see there, is Eagle Square.
There has been a show of force around Eagle Square in the past few days. A lot of talk about this place in the past few days. Some people saying they had asked to use it for the protest. Some people saying they hadn't seen any requests of that nature. But, you know, the countdown is on, and as we look forward to that planned protest, we don't know what's going to happen at this venue tomorrow. Is it going to be filled with protesters? Is it going to be filled with military personnel? All of that we'll be telling you as they unfold. But Eagle Square right there, our skyline this morning, lots of memories. Eagle Square is one of those places that if the ground could talk, if the chairs in this place could talk, they will tell story after story about event after event, a very important part of the nation's capital, and one that we'll be looking at for tomorrow.
I was actually wondering, Kayla and Chamberlain, why it is called Eagle Square. That's what was coming up in my head. What's the reason for the name Eagle Square? But then it may not be too far from the Nigerian coat of arms, where the eagle is at the top of that crest. That's something that plays in my head. It's as old as the Fourth Republic. Was constructed in 1999, and as you rightly said, it served quite a number of purposes. But is protests one of those purposes it is supposed to serve? I guess the coming days will tell. But because we understand that the Occupy Nigeria protest of January 2012 took place right here, and a number of political rallies and all of those things have also held there. So will the End Bad Governance protest happen here tomorrow? Or, as the police say, there are designated places outside of Eagle Square that protests should be held? I guess time will tell. But this is a lovely sight, guys. Most certainly a lovely one.
Light at the end of the tunnel, they say. So, glass being half empty or half full, how do you see it? But in any ways, let's go ahead, Ayo, take us through some of the dailies. What are they saying today, this time?
What else do you expect to lead the headlines of some of the papers this morning? Of course, the protests. Let's begin with the Nigerian Observer. End bad governance. Security agencies' job gets tougher. That's the lead story of the paper as organizers reject confined protests. The Nigerian Tribune. Planned hardship protest. FG declares prisons red zones. Pages 2 and 30 have the story and a good number of riders right there on the front page of the paper today. Vanguard newspaper. Protests. Organizers list convergence points for rallies. Also with a load of riders on the front page. New Telegraph has the same story. August 1, youth's rage. Organizers reject IGP's proposal for confined protests, insist on street processions. The story is on pages 2, 5, and 28 of the New Telegraph this morning. The Daily Times newspaper, 24 hours to nationwide protests. Stalemate as organizers reject IGP's no street procession offer. Stories on page 2. Thugs threaten Lagos protesters as court confines demonstrations to parks. Nigerian Correctional Service declares custodial centers red zones. Front page of the Daily Independent has this one. Organizers, IGP, Egbetokun disagree on confined protests. Protesters ask IGP for details of officers to protect them. Court restricts protests in Lagos to Freedom, Peace Parks. Hoodlums threaten to deal with protesters in Lagos. Details of that story on the inside pages. Nigerian News Direct. Nationwide protest. FG suspends import duties, taxes on food items to subdue hunger. That story has its details on page 2. The Guardian newspaper, real estate, totally different story. Slow justice system compounds investment uptake, 100 billion naira loss yearly. The story is on page 6 of the paper this morning. Business Day has airlines fly lucrative routes as plane shortage lingers. Find the details of that story on the front page, continues on the inside pages of the paper. This is some of the papers we have for you this morning.
All right, so there you go. I mean, it's going to be a lot about the protest, which is what we're also going to talk about here this morning. So just give us a moment. We will be right back.
Senior advocates of Nigeria, Femi Falana and Ebunolu Adegboruwa, led the meeting with the Inspector General of Police. About 25 persons attended, and they include the leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association, other senior lawyers, members of the Take It Back movement, representatives of other civil society organizations, as well as representatives of the police.
Under the law, your duty is to ensure that adequate security is provided for protesters in line with Section 83, subsection 4 of the Police Establishment Act of 2020. And for me, one, there is commitment on the part of the police to ensure that those who want to protest are guided. There should be no problem. On behalf of my colleagues who are here, that we are not violent people, and we're not going to encourage violence as far as this protest is concerned.
At this particular period, it is not advised that we go on street procession, because I've said earlier on that as you are mobilizing for peaceful protest, some are mobilizing for violent protests. We are doing our best to make sure that we check those ones. Then for the peaceful protesters, we are agreeing on the modalities to conduct the peaceful protest at this period. That is why I suggested that confining peaceful protesters to a particular location will help us a lot. I want us to agree on that on the day of protest, your group will be confined to those places that you have identified. And let us also agree that there will be no procession.
Participants disagree with the IGP's suggestions for a confined protest.
It may not be possible for organizers to say they won't be procession. I don't think that will be possible.
We can agree on routes. We can agree on where we are going to pass through the protest, but I don't think it's possible to confine protests to a location. That will be absolutely impossible.
Surely our letter to the Inspector General of Police indicates that there will be procession, they will be guided in order to achieve peace during the procession. That's indicated in our letter.
The IGP responds.
You indicated 8 locations, 8 states where you want to stage this protest. The IG will not be in all those 8 states at the same time. But we have commissioners of police in each of those states, meet with them, tell the commissioners of police how you want to stage your peaceful protest. But as for me, I believe that a peaceful protest in a confined location will be very easy for the police to protect. But if you say you want to go on procession, you want to go around the whole city in during your peaceful protest, I advise against that.
The meeting dispersed with the group asking the IGP to make available the contacts of police officers designated to cover the protest. Shola Shoyeli, Channels Television News.
We are thrilled to have you on board as we chart the course for our next chapter. We're inviting you to take up your right in full for 19 naira 75 kobo per share. From the 8th of July to 14th of August, take advantage of the chance to acquire one more ordinary share for every 2 shares in your portfolio. Visit www.theaccesscorporation.com to subscribe. Access Holdings, where financial solutions connect the world.
lunch.
Heartburn and indigestion? Try Just-Tea, reliable remedy for heartburn, indigestion, flatulence, and acidity.
All right, so these are some of the issues that will be determined. So what will happen tomorrow? What nature will it be? What consequences? What implications? How will it play out? That is what lots of people are talking about now, because the day beckons when it happens tomorrow. So we've got Mr. Butu Yaro joining us virtually. He's a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police. We also have Chris Wakobia, who wears different caps now, convener, Country First Movement, spokesperson, Labour and Civil Society Front, among others. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Now, about tomorrow. Let me start with Mr. Wakobia. There are several concerns as to how will this happen, with groups disagreeing. Should we stay in a confined location? How do we guarantee safety of lives and property and preventing several people from hijacking it? So from the report we saw, they clearly didn't agree. So about this protest tomorrow, what would you say? How do you see it playing out?
Chamberlain, am I the one starting?
Yes, please.
Am I the one starting?
Yes, please.
Am I the one starting?
Yes, please.
Am I the one starting?
Yes.
Let me say that I appreciate the fact that the Inspector General of Police convened that virtual meeting yesterday. I also appreciate the fact that it was far-reaching on matters that border on the constitutionality and legality of protest. I appreciate the fact that representatives of the civil society and those who are indeed calling for the protest were there. And congruent with the provisions of Chapter 4 of the Constitution is the right to disagree, is the right to assemble, is the right to hold opinion. And very interestingly, it's ennobling to find out that the IG and the security apparatus of government have come to terms with that reality. Now, importantly, like your question connotes, how do we protect lives and properties? And I think that first, between now and tomorrow, the security agencies should de-escalate on threats, de-escalate on issues that border on the possibility of the protests being hijacked. Spokespersons of government should de-escalate on statements that apparently provoke and provokes the people. They should also do something that is fundamentally important. Continue with the trajectory that the IG of police introduced yesterday, which is, of course, the fact that they want to ensure that it is peaceful and that they protect the people. Oftentimes, in our life in progressive struggle, we have found out that those who want a new deal, a new dawn, a new day, and a new republic are oftentimes very peaceful in their protestation. I have said that in 2020, the youths of this country taught the world a lesson in progressive struggle. For about 10 days, they conducted their protests with the highest level of decorum. For about 10 days, they taught even the United States of America that had just come off the Floyd protest, and several other countries, a lesson in progressive resistance, until agents of states procured violence, infiltrated movements, shot people, looted shops, and sought to label a peaceful progressive effort as violent. Now, what is important as we proceed as a people and as a nation is to ask operators of states, ask men and women of the security services to de-escalate on words that border on threat or the possibility of a hijack. and emphasize the fact that they will ensure, along with the protesters, that protests are peaceful. When we do that, what it does is encourage the protesters to remain orderly and peaceful, and discourage possible touts and infiltrators from infiltrating the protests.
All right. Mr. Yaro, I'm hoping that you heard what he just said. Now, I know that you've got concerns about how it played out the last time. Now, concerning several people who think, look, we want to come out, albeit peacefully, but then all of these narratives and several images that we've seen about certain people threatening those who want to come out peacefully or otherwise to just stay back, it raises a lot of concern. So what would your impression be about what may happen tomorrow?
Thank you very much for having me. I hope I'm loud and clear there.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I am terribly worried by the kind of hype that is being generated by the organizers and some of the commentators. And I think this kind of hype is an invitation to total anarchy. A point has to be made, and that point has to be understood by all of us on a very serious note. The actors of state security, headed by the Inspector General of Police, has spoken at length over this matter. And he has spoken on behalf of all men of goodwill and all the security community to fellow Nigerians, in the sense that the need for all of us to act in circumspect is very, very important. Of course, certainly, a strike is being proposed, but I can tell you, not Nigerians 100% are in support of any strike in the way and format that is being designed. Apart from that, the security apparatus have told us that the timing is not really very expeditious for them to act in a way that all situations will be in proper alignment. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a country of about 94,000 square meters. And any spontaneous strike across the length and breadth of the country or a greater part of the country at the same time presents unusual security risk in terms of management, in terms of coordination by the security forces led by the Nigerian Police Force. And the same police authority have reminded us that there's need for us to act in circumspect for now. They need to prepare their platforms. They need to organize themselves because in order to be able to be in position to provide the needed security.
All right, if I could jump in, Mr. Yaro, you made reference to the timing and that the importance of security agencies to prepare themselves. But is there ever a perfect time? And besides, we thought that the notices came a long time ago for them to prepare.
Thank you very much. The timing, in the sense, what I'm talking about, considering the size of the country, I said this country is about 94,000 square meters. And the effect of strike can always have a simultaneous engagement all over the country. If perhaps the security forces, particularly the police, are appealing to us that we should give them time to arrange themselves in order to ensure that there's perfect security in those areas mentioned. Except, of course, we are looking for something extraordinary. I don't know why we cannot really have a sense of understanding in this kind of proposal. There's no time. I mean, for now, everybody needs to be coordinated. Both the people in procession and those who will not participate, and the generality of people who live in our country. And the chief law enforcement platforms have made it clear that the level of preparation they are putting on the ground, and they require more time. If at all we are not looking for something extraordinary, why not we listen to ourselves? We have a history of uncoordinated procession and violent acts on the street in many parts of the country. The IGP and his team, they are leveraging on these bitter experiences in the past.
Okay.
And we must consider one thing.
Let me bring in Mr. Nwokobi on that one. Mr. Nwokobi, I know that, yes, we heard what you said in the opening, but perhaps stretching a little further what he was talking about, the last protest, which is the EndSARS. Yes, you also highlighted how peaceful it was until it eventually went awry. all the circumstances notwithstanding. But is it understandable, considering the impact that states like Lagos, you know, how they felt, the damage that happened in different parts? So if residents or authorities there feel, if they are apprehensive, is it understandable? Because of, if they say, look, we know what happened the last time. Yes, it was supposed to be peaceful, but we saw how that went. And what are the chances, even if the security agencies were to go out there, but they won't be able to stop everyone from vandalizing anything if all of those people decide to do a thing or two? So is it understandable if they say, look, we're cautious, we're apprehensive, we don't want this to even happen in the first place?
Chamberlain, I will take you back to history as I answer that question. Interestingly, in the opening segment of this, my comrade Femi Falana was on the call with the IG, the virtual meeting. Veteran Chair, my brother and friend, was there. Quite a lot of our comrades who were with us in the trenches during the June 12th protestation were online, Ebuadoborua and several others. And let me tell you, always in our history as a nation, those who have provoked violence and not the protesters. Remember what happened at the Ikorodu Road in 1993, 1994.
Okay, so I think we lost out on that one, but no, I think we'll get him back. But he was trying to go down memory lane. Mr. Yaro, I know that the authorities always want to ensure that, look, perhaps, I don't know if we even call it PTSD for the security agencies because of what they went through the last time. I'm not sure how that phrase stands or stakes with them, if it's acceptable or not, but yes, we know that they are impact. But let me check if we've got Mr. Nwokobia back. We lost him momentarily. Mr. Nwokobia, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Please go ahead. We lost you for a bit.
So I was laying the preambles as answer to your question. At the Ikorodu Road and the Mende, Maryland axis, as well as the Mobalaji Bank Anthony roundabout, young boys and girls, students of the University of Lagos, Lagos State University and co. were protesting, and Abacha sent his troops to mow down several of the students. It was peaceful until the state provoked violence. Remember very vividly the EndSARS protestation. It was peaceful for upward of 7-8 days until agents provocateur sponsored, allegedly, and the panels proved it, by agents of state infiltrated it. Now, I listened to my big brother there when he was talking about the time. It was Nelson Rolich Lala Madiba who said that the time is always right to do right. I think that we must agree that governance have become absolutely distant from the people. We have seen profligacy, wanderlust, and absolute ignorance of leadership regarding monumental hunger and poverty. We have seen where government, rather than addressing the fundamental issues of state, have gone buying SUVs for lawmakers, spending resources over 20 billion to build a house for the VP, rather than protecting our farmlands and our farmways, rather than ensuring that food security is a fundamental issue of state. Our inflation rate stands at over 34%. And when do you think is right for the people to say no? When do you think it is right for the people to say never, ever again? I think that we who support protestation are the ones who are essentially saying that our protestation will be peaceful. Why is it that those who support the position of government are the ones talking about violence when the protesters haven't talked about violence? It worries me. It scares me. It bothers the carapace of my mind that we are consistently talking about peaceful protestation, and those who should say, okay, we understand the position of the young people, are the ones who are consistently talking about a hijack. Are they interested or intending to hijack the protestation? Are they interested or intending to procure violence? They need to tell us, because you see, there's this cliche. The witch cried last night and the child dies this morning. You make your conjectures. Chamberlain, I'm truly, truly bothered. Kayla, I'm bothered. I think that the time has come for those who side with government to understand that intrinsic with our rights as human beings is the right to disagree with government. Intrinsic with our constitutional rights as citizens is the freedom to protest. Intrinsic with our rights as Homo sapiens is the right to stay alive. And Nigerians across board are saying the government has been largely irresponsible and irresponsive to our needs as a people. And we are saying that the right to peacefully protest is sacrosanct. So,
Mr. Mokobia, just so we can get your thoughts on something else, to get your thoughts on some of the things that we've seen happen in the past few days. And one of the conversations that we've heard is, do protests work? With every protest that we've had in the country, did the country get better? Did, you know, when you make all of those demands, have we actually seen the country get better with each protest? Some people don't agree. What do you make of this conversation?
My answer is capital letter yes. Protestation all over the world and including our country has made things better. I'll give you a practical instance. When we marched out against the annulment of June 12, Babangida stepped aside using a wrong grammatical programmatic. He stepped aside because the people had said never ever again. When Abacha came, our protestation made it impossible for him to go overseas for medical treatment. We insisted on the need to de-annul June 12th. And eventually, when he passed on, it was difficult for Absalam Abubakar to stay longer than a year. And you want to know, when Nigerians protested regarding EndSARS, we do not have SARS as a programmatic in the police force today. When Nigerians protest regarding hunger and saying end to bad governance, it will make government and governance responsible and responsive to the people. That's the fundamental reality. That's the truth all over the world. Freedoms are not served a la carte. Freedoms must be demanded. And you know, there's an old cliche that says that eternal vigilance is the price for liberty. And we are saying that the time has come to make leadership responsible and responsive. We can't live in a country where 469 members of the National Assembly get more resources than 10,000 workers of government. We can't live in a country where, rather than patronize locally made producers, you go buy Toyota cars for 469 members of the National Assembly at 150 million naira each, when the naira is being buffeted and beaten silly by the dollar. We can't live in a country where the presidency, rather than selling off some of the presidential jets, is buying more jets. We can't live in a country where the presidency, rather than addressing the fundamental issues of state, is spending about 6 billion naira to manage a protest. We can't continue to live in a country where, rather than allow young people to protest for their rights, the presidency is spending monies across board, getting people to dissociate from a protest that ab initio has been planned to be peaceful.
I want to take you up on that as well, Mr. Mokobia. You know, we're seeing these videos from parts of the country where we're seeing traditional rulers, we're seeing members of society, we're seeing all kinds of meetings. I've learnt the names of so many new groups in the past few days, groups that we didn't even know existed, but they keep having one meeting after the other, disassociating themselves, but of worry. Disassociating themselves and their members from the protest. But one that is of worry really is when we hear traditional institutions telling people, you can't tell your children not to come out. We don't know what will happen to them if they do. You know, creating situations like that. This is coming from members of the public as well. These are also Nigerians who are talking like this. What should be going through the minds of people who want to come out when they hear these sorts of narratives from people who are also members of the public? How should they be able to be comfortable to come out? And what should security agencies be doing about those sorts of threats?
Kayla, there's a worrisome tapestry. There's a worrisome twist in our national story as a people. And those are the issues that you just highlighted. Kayla, look at it. When we talked about the need to deal with issues of kidnap for ransom, people thought it was a joke. I lost my immediate younger sister to kidnappers. As I talk to you, Kayla, the new business that is emerging on our political amphitheater is threatening a strike, hype the strike, threatening a protest, hype the protest, and government opens a collective deal to compromise people and make them speak against the protest. That's a new business that we're about to introduce, and it's a sad testament for all of us. Now, why are traditional rulers who know that the masses of their people are strangulating poverty doing what they're doing? Why are some organizations that never existed? Now, we used to be students who headed NANS, National Association of Nigerian Students. When we were in NANS, it was the days of Mayegun, who was the president of the Student Union in University of Lagos. Those days, we didn't have an association of ex-NANS presidents coming to speak on an issue. Today, we see all kinds of amorphous groups. I saw one that calls itself an association of 407 ethnic nationalities. I wonder how they gathered 407 ethnic nationalities to distance themselves from a protestation that they were not part of the planning. You know, I think that the government inadvertently is lowering our moral and psychological bar. Government inadvertently is messing up with our collective integrity and credibility. Government inadvertently, because it must continue the way it's running, rather than addressing the fundamental issues that calls for reforms, is ennobling and enabling people to lose and mess up with our collective morality. But I think that in this outing, we have to advise government to, rather than spend our collective resources and our patrimony on compromising individuals who know nothing about the protests and protestation, ensure that the security agencies live up to par, live to the reality of now, and then ensure that the protestations are peaceful. Because those who are calling for protests have said repeatedly, Michaela, that it is going to be a peaceful protestation. I don't know why people are gaslighting people about the pre-election to violence, except they are the ones, and I'm saying it on national TV, except that they are the ones that are ready to procure violence.
I mean, I want to talk to Mr. Yaro because, of course, our colleague in Lagos has to come in on this conversation. But, Mr. Yaro, if you can hear me, let's talk a little bit about security. We heard you talk the first time. For many people who've heard you speak and people who have said these, raised these fears that you've been raising, the question has always been, are we saying that our security agencies are unable to handle a protest? Of course, there will be threats of violence. Of course, all these things are going to happen. But you would think that after EndSARS, the reference keeps coming up about EndSARS. After EndSARS, you would think that they would have been able to train themselves, to handle these sorts of situations better. Are you saying that that hasn't happened?
It's not the security being trained for specific purpose or not, or otherwise. The understanding of these issues has to be made clear. When we say strike or procession, we have different typologies of procession. For example, if people are holding a rally in a specified location, expressing their discomfort, and thereafter they disperse to their localities, it's a different template. If perhaps people are expressing their discontent with the government by staying at home and not coming to anywhere, it's still a form of protest. If people, on the other hand, maybe have the motive of showing their discontent by coming en masse to a press conference, articulating their opinion, making the world to know through World Press Conference or associated system, it's a different thing. But all these response of the security forces are basically done as a result of our experiences. What we have experienced in our country in the last 10, 15 years is that anytime protesters with genuine intention are out, certainly a lot of hoodlums used to seize the occasion to hold the country to ransom.
But that's the point. If that has been happening over the years, shouldn't they have come up with some kind of solution to the problem by now?
And we don't want to listen to the IG. We have come up with something. What we have come up is what the IG is saying. He said, listen to your Inspector General of Police. What he is saying is that in each state where you are going to have procession or whatever, liaise with the Commissioner of Police in that state. You should plan the event. You should have a unity of purpose in organizing the rally. But a good number of them are saying that is not for them. Now, the security forces have put up relevant proposal for a civilized management of the situation, but they're not even ready to listen. And I can tell you, all said and done, and in the manner they want to get it done, at the end of the day, certainly the situation will go out of control. And let me advise too, once the situation go out of control, no state apparatus will fold his arm and stand at akimbo while persons who are not ready to listen to themselves or listen to anybody hold the country to ransom. Honestly, my advice is still this. Those who care to listen, we're all Nigerians, we know ourselves. Those who care to listen should give this situation a second thought. For the chief of police in your country to say, if you come out in the way you are talking about, I will be incapacitated by providing you adequate security. To me, that is a very heavy signal for us to do it.
So, Mr. Yaro,
soul-searching.
Now, you've said IGP has suggested certain things, liaise with your CPs in different states. Part of what we heard him say is, in fact, the narrative it almost seems confusing now. You have different people who've put up different messages and different groups. First of all, you have different groups that have threatened anyone who even plans to come out to protest. They threaten them, say, look, there'll be violence. Don't even think about it. Whether it's peaceful or, in fact, it's targeted at those who intend to come out, perhaps, let me say, use the word peacefully. That's the impression we get. And then we also see messages all over the place. Yes, the authorities say you have a right to protest, but you now see certain narratives going further. They almost tell you, don't come out to protest. Then the last one from the IG is go to a particular spot. So the question several people asked when they sit back and take in all of this narrative is, the security agencies appear to focus solely on those who say they want to come out to protest peacefully and just want to appear to discourage them from coming out, even though you say you're right. But there hasn't been, if there is, you could let us know as well. They said they haven't seen a lot of messages, or even any at all, targeted at those who have said there'll be festival, don't come out. Or those who have said, if you come out, there'll be violence. So those who say, if you come to my area, I will deal with you. They haven't seen security agencies address those specific people and say, look, much as we say people have a right to protest peacefully, but if you try to threaten those who want to come out peacefully, you will get it. Why? Is that a mistake or what?
It's simple. Why it is so is this. We must take cognizance of what we call diversity management. There's diversity management in democracy. The fact that they are calling for strike do not mean that all Nigerians subscribe to it. Even if they do, not the format they are talking about.
Yeah, but that's the point. He's not just referring right now to people saying we don't agree with it. We're seeing threats, actual threats. If this is an actual threat, Chamberlain wants to find out from you, why isn't the security agent, why aren't they doing something about the threats against people who want to protest?
It's a simultaneous threat from all the parties concerned. Even the proponents are threatening the peace of some others. And some are saying that if we threaten our peace and our livelihood, we're going to resist it. Certainly, we must concede to one thing. People's opinion can be different from our own, and we must have a leverage of managing our own conviction in a way that others will be accommodated. There's nothing wrong in a big city like Abuja or elsewhere. 30 people for and against. They are Nigerians, everybody has his own right. But for somebody to rain it down on every person, that you must come out, you must not come out, I think that we need to think about it. And that is why the IG is saying, that we need to listen to ourselves. And we do not create situations that will cause conflagration in our country. Because certainly, people, the proponents of the strike, they do not have the unanimity of consensus of everybody. And that is very essential in a democracy. Therefore, we must be able to educate ourselves. That is an end game that requires a deliberate reconsideration of all the issues we are canvassing for. That is the point I am making. And the government and the security apparatus, they owe a duty to listen to everybody.
Let me ask a question of Mr. Nwokobia. Well, Mr. Nwokobia, it would seem, and I have asked this question before, so let me just take your own perspective of it. Excuse me. It would seem like most of the time we over-centralize our issues. The effect of the things that happen at the federal level are felt in the states. And we have authorities in the states, Mr. Nwokobia, who ought to be able to address whatever the issues are frontally at their states level. So that even no matter how difficult things are getting, the states ought to be able to intervene one way or the other. For instance, most of the time when there are elections in the local government elections, which is, according to several people, and you are a lawyer as well, believe that it's the closest level of government to the people. But when the local government elections are happening, most of the time, people don't come out according to INEC. The figures are very low. Add that to the fact that a good number of issues that arise, we have the representatives of the people in the states, in the houses of assembly, and yet we don't have protests from that level. Why do you think that is so? It would seem like we're over-centralizing our issues, don't you think?
Good. And in addition...
No, it's actually for Mr. Nwokobia. What? This question is for Mr. Nwokobia.
Okay.
Let me say clearly that if I understand your question very well, I would lay a preamble, which is of course very important. My brother on the other side wants peace, but he's not asking for the state to call in and helm in Asari Dukobo and his team. Asari has threatened, and he's used the word woto-woto. If you come out, we'll give you woto-woto. What does that mean? The state is inadvertently procuring, preparing, enabling, and advancing his worries. And he should be interested in asking the DSS and the police
the question that I'm asking, just a second. The question I'm asking is around, if you can hear me, just a second. Please, just a second, because we really don't have much time, so let's just go straight into it. Now, bad governance is not really a problem. It's a problem across federal, state, and local governments, right? And the closer governments to the people seem to get a slap on the wrist. And the federal government, I'm not making a case, I'm just saying that we need to be able to decentralize all of these issues so that even before they cascade to this level, they have already been dealt with. And once state feels it, everybody else will chip in.
God bless you, brother. Now, let me say, I have repeatedly, and I gave this opinion to a sister station when they asked these questions. I've repeatedly talked about the need for government to pursue the process of restructuring our system so that responsibility to the people will devolve from the local governments to the state and then to the center. But for as long as leadership has refused to do what is proper, right, and right, for as long as leadership has refused to revert to the Independence Constitution or the Republican Constitution, every successive administration in Nigeria will be worse than the one before it. And this is the truth. Now, as you and I talk, I'm aware that you know that the federal government takes about 60% of every monthly sharing of resources. And 774 local governments, as well as 36 states, share about 42% of resources. So largely, the buck stops at the table of Mr. President and the federal government. So if you want to demand responsible and responsive governance, please allow me. if you want to demand responsible and responsive governance, you must ask the man who is the Superman to do right. Until, and that's my challenge to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who along with us led the processes of protestation and the call for restructuring, to begin pronto the process of restructuring this country.
That point has been made. But the question that I'm asking is, just a second, Prof, does that excuse the states from taking responsibility? So does that mean that because I'm just saying, I'm just raising the issue so that people can understand. Does that mean that the states have no responsibility in all of this? Does that mean that because the federal government is taking the larger share, the states do not owe the people good governance?
Your greatest responsibility behoves on the federal government. Yes, the state owes good governance. Yes, the local government owes good governance.
So do you think the states are doing enough in terms of good governance? Supreme Court. Do you think the states are doing well enough? Just a second. Do you think the states are doing well enough in terms of good governance to the people?
Most of the states are not doing good, you know. And I'm not. I want you to understand the perspective, because oftentimes people who are unable to put the issues in proper perspective will expect the child to be more responsible than the father. My late father told me a long time ago that it is unjust to come to the house of a prostitute to expect her 18-year-old daughter to pass a virginity test. It will be unfair on an armed robber to expect his 17-year-old son to become a catechist. The fact is that the buck stops at the table of leadership. If the federal government is responsible and responsive to the people, by reasonable implication, the state governments must be. And if the state governments are responsible and responsive to the people, by reasonable implication, the local government must be, or the people will rise against them. So I think that the time has come for us to put issues in proper perspective. This government can only succeed and do better than the 8 years of Buhari's failure if it walks the path of restructuring of the nation. This government can assuage the anger and the temper that is building up in the land if it proceeds to fundamental reforms. Gaslighting the people and expecting the people to look the other way when you have videos and optics of Asari Dukubo and his kin threatening peaceful demonstrators, threatening people who are asking for an end to bad governance, and nobody's calling them to order, then it's anathema, it's shibboleth, it's unfair.
All right, let me ask Mr. Yaro. Yes, my apologies, that point is made. Well, Mr. Yaro, quite a number of times you have also joined the IGP in citing the incidences of EndSARS. Do you think that the issues that were raised during EndSARS have been convincingly addressed? Mr. Yaro, that is for you. I think you are muted, sir. I think you are muted.
Wow.
Yes, it's better now. Go ahead.
Okay. Are you there?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
So, I want you to understand one thing. Government, the ways and method of government are not designed for quick fixes.
Mr. Yaro, it's 4 years gone. It's been 4 years.
Hello?
It's been 4 years. If you can hear me, Mr. Yaro. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm saying that yes, most of those issues have been addressed.
Just a second.
And it's still working.
Just a second. Let me give you a background. Let me give you a background to EndSARS. The agitation for EndSARS that culminated in 2020 started in 2015. People repeatedly asked and called out the police and talking about the fact that SARS were behaving in a way untoward and not helpful to the Nigerian people. 5 years down the line, the people couldn't take it anymore. And give them a number of other things that led to that one. They said, look, you know what? We're done with this. People weren't even complaining about the issues of bad governance at the time. It was a year of COVID. It was a year where everyone was at home. And yet it would seem like the SARS took undue advantage of the people at the time to unleash mayhem on them. It would seem. And then the people said, we've had enough. EndSARS in 2020, 5 years after the conversation began. Now, 4 years down the line, those issues have not been addressed. Why should the people listen to the IGP?
I have addressed this matter before on the same channel about EndSARS, and I termed it was a rebellion of criminal gangs against the policing system of the country. EndSARS that went to Benin prison and released 1,000 people, went to Oko prison, went to Owerri prison to release. That was not an aggression against the Nigerian police. It was a rebellion of criminal gangs. The law-abiding Nigerians did not participate or organize any rebellion or any riot at that time. That point has to be made. And rioters went to the palace of Oba and Lagos to go and vandalize it. Is Oba's palace now a police station? And EndSARS rioters went to TVC station, TVC at Ketu to vandalize it. Is that a police station? Look, don't take us to that area. It was a rebellion.
Mr. Yaro, just to be clear, just to be clear, are you aware, just a second, are you aware that celebrities, just a second, if you can hear me, are you aware that Nigerians, some well-respected Nigerians, some celebrities, can you hear me, Mr. Yaro? That some celebrities put their face to EndSARS. They were at the concerts that were held in the name of EndSARS all across, and in various other parts of the country, not just in Lagos. All right. And so are you saying that all those celebrities were also hoodlums?
I said the hoodlum. Why have you ignored to address the invasion of Benin prison I told you? We have 2 federal prisons in Benin, Oko, after the airport, and another one in the center part of the town, and Owerri prison. I mentioned it. Does it not concern you that that is a very serious part of our national architecture that was destroyed, and most of the prisoners are still on the loose today? Why does, in your interview, why does that not itch your conscience to talk about?
It's also unfortunate, Mr. Yaro, without particularly paying attention to any thing. It's also unfortunate that the police system. Just a second, Mr. Yaro, you asked a question. So let me just raise it. It's also unfortunate that the Nigerian police was unable to defend its own police station. So why should people trust that the police can defend them when they cannot defend their own police station?
You see, you must understand one thing. The situation then, it was not because police were lacking capacity to defend their police station. The mindset of the authority was that those initial actors in the first phase of EndSARS were people who are having genuine concern. And the preparation of the police in terms of taking them as adversaries was just not really there. It was later that criminals invaded and attacked all those police stations and destroyed what they did. And if the police had come in the same equivalent force to repair them, I think by now the nation could have been counting its human loss in most unimaginable way. But the important thing still remains that when criminals are organized and they decide to go a certain way, the fact that the law enforcement people exercise restraint is not a sign of weakness. Okay. It's a sign of condoning some misbehavior in order to ensure that the national environment still remains cohesive.
People would listen and to you significantly. But let me ask Mr. Nwokobia. Just a second. Let me ask Mr. Nwokobia, because the arguments, Mr. Yaro, would be, we know a good number of people have come out to say that the police is not well funded. So when you say that they were exercising restraint, it will be understandable. But Mr. Nwokobia, let me just ask you, and please go straight to the point, because we're running out of time. Communication. A good number of people have raised the issues that, look, both federal and state governments are not communicating significantly with the people, hence this boil over. How do you think governments at any level should be communicating with the people now, at least to calm nerves, even if the issues that have been raised will take a while?
Thank you for that very important and salient questions. I think that fundamentally, the problem with our country is that leadership and leaders are ensconced by sycophants, Pharisees, and proselytes who see leaders as kings, not as servants of the people. I think that the time has come for us as a people to ensure and change the paradigms where more than ever before, leadership will see itself as responsible to the people. You don't have leaders except you have the people. And fundamentally, as I listened to my elder brother on the other side, I got tears welling down my cheek. And this is fundamentally important because I must say this. You know, in trying to protect the state, you must first protect the people. It has to be country first. You cannot continue to argue for the safety of the state when the people are consistently unsafe, insecure, traumatized, and troubled. You cannot continue to talk about structures when the human structure is in trouble. Our people across space, the farmers cannot go to the farms. They have to pay some tax to non-state actors to be able to go to their farms. You watch every day people who are in leadership in monstrous opulence when there's no food in your home. And you think it's just that easy? I think that the time has come for us to speak truth to power and tell government and governance that it must do right. The world has become a global bedroom, a tiny village, where what happens in Kenya affects the mentality of the Gen Z in Nigeria. What happens in Uganda affects the mentality of the Gen Z in Nigeria. So to begin to gaslight the people will do no good. I think that the time has come for fundamental reforms, and the states, the local governments, and the federal governments must learn to engage with the people. Speak with the people, not speak to the people. The time has come for leadership to assume a new tendency. You know, the reason Abraham Lincoln defined democracy as the government of the people, for the people, or by the people, is because inherent in democratic words is the right of the people to demand for that which is right. And the EndSARS protest was in line with that tandem. And also,
we need to go. Mr. Yarrow, just a quick one. For those who are watching and asking questions, I mean, who think, look, what do? I have a job and a business concerns. I need to go about my life tomorrow and perhaps up until the 10th, as they are proposed for the days of those protests. Someone who's experienced former police officer, what would you advise them to do? Mr. Yarrow.
Chamberlain, is that for me?
No, Mr. Yarrow, not for you.
Okay.
Mr. Yarrow, I think you're muted. Can you unmute yourself? Oh, I think we lost him there. All right, gentlemen, Mr. Chris Makobia is a spokesperson of Labour and Civil Society Front, also convener Country First Movement. Mr. Abutu Yarrow, retired Assistant Inspector General of Police. Thank you both for talking to us this morning. Well, Business Morning comes up.
Mine.
Yeah.
At Access Holdings, we are heading into the next phase of our evolution. And with our rights issue, you get an increased stake in it. From the 8th of July to the 14th of August, you can get your share of over 17 billion shares at 19.75 kobo per share. That's one new ordinary share to every 2 shares held. Visit theaccesscorporation.com to subscribe. Access Holdings, where financial solutions connect the world.
Hello, welcome to the final trading day of July and the trading day right before the planned protest of August 1st. We'll be gauging how markets here react to all of this. Let's get to the top stories that set your agenda now. Starting with the oil market, we see all futures rebounded more than $1 a barrel from 7-week lows. That was yesterday after the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Iran. That ratcheted up tensions in the Middle East, but prices stayed under pressure from concerns about weak China demand We see Brent crude futures that climbed by 1.8%, big jump back above the $80 psychological level. That's for Brent. WTI crude, the U.S. grade, $76.11 a barrel. Also a bigger move, 1.9%. Analysts are still checking what's happening with the Middle East at this point, seeing if gains from geopolitics there are going to be capped, or we might actually see more strengthening there. But let's look at the FX market now. The NAFEX rate fixed at 1,598 naira 30 kobo to the dollar, but a 0.01% appreciation from the previous day. But for NAFEM, the demand for U.S. dollars surpassed its supply. And we see 0.60% drop there. Still going deeper into that 1,600 level, closing at 1,621 naira 12 kobo to the dollar. So, yeah, more pressure right there in the NAFEM window. But analysts are saying they expect these levels to remain, with the CBN expected to intervene at some point this week. And it's earnings season, and it's heating up right here in Nigeria. Nigeria's oldest financial institution, that's FBN Holdings, released its 2024 second quarter results, showing a pre-tax profit of 177.79 billion naira. That's about 18.9% year-on-year growth, and growth in pre-tax profits boosted half-year profitability to a record 411.9 billion naira for the group, marking its best ever half-year performance and record. FBN Holdings half-year profit, that's 411.9 billion, is more than double the 205 billion naira pre-tax profit reported for the same period in 2023. And Nestle Nigeria PLC also posted a pre-tax, this time a loss, 252.5 billion naira in the 2024 half-year, marking a 265% year-on-year decrease from the 69.1 billion pre-tax loss posted in the first half of 2023. During the period, the company posted a revenue of 407 billion naira, representing a 55% year-on-year increase from the 261.8 billion posted in the first half of 2023. So we're still expecting more earnings rolling out, and definitely investors reacting, differently. But for Nestle, we saw the price for the stock actually drop. Yes, in yesterday's trade, a big drop there, bringing that consumer goods counter lower. To other stories now, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has ordered the electricity market operator in the country's power sector to activate the relevant market rules to ensure the payment of about 21.3 billion naira owed by international customers in the first quarter of this year. The countries involved include Niger Republic through its power generation and transmission utility, Nigelec, Benin Republic through Société Béninoise d'Énergie Électrique, and Togo through its power utility firm, the Togo Electric Energy Company. In its just released Q1 2024 report, the NERC revealed that one of the countries being supplied electricity by Nigeria remitted monies to the country during the period under review. Nigerian youths have again been advised to carry out their protests with caution and not allow it to degenerate to destruction of critical infrastructure. These words are coming from the co-chairman of the National Traditional Rulers Council and monarch of Ile-Ife, His Imperial Majesty Adeyeye Anitan Ogunwusi. Adioni of Ife spoke on our political program, Politics Today, yesterday. Take a listen.
We need to let our people know that it is important for us to let them know that political and all our political leaders will come and go, but common assets and public assets shouldn't be destroyed. We will be the one to suffer, because we should come together as a country and not as individuals. People that are clamoring for riots, or protest or demonstration, we know. We traditional rulers, we never said that people shouldn't go to the streets to demonstrate. It is their rights. Even our political leaders confirmed that they can go. The agitation is real. We know that we have a lot of suffering in the country, and it is not only Nigeria. We have global inflation. It is everywhere. But what we traditional rulers are after is do not let us destroy our country ourselves. This is a global phenomenon. We should be very sensitive about it. We should be very mindful that we should love our country more than anything. We should focus on patriotism, true patriotism.
All right, there you have it. Everyone bracing for tomorrow, but also giving advice on how to go about this planned protest. But let's get to a conversation now. In a sudden reversal, the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency has put on hold its plan to drastically hike the aircraft navigation fees by 800%, change that was originally set to take effect on September 1st, 2024. This unexpected move comes days after the agency first unveiled the proposed increase. Joining us now to discuss and other issues in the aviation industry, we have Mr. Bayo Adedeji. He's the Group CEO, Wakana. Joining me right here in the studio. Great to have you. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, so quite a lot going on right now, but we cannot stay away from the planned protest. You know, at this time, I'm sure your industry is bracing for this. What kind of conversations are you having at this time?
Super tough conversation. We don't know what to expect tomorrow. We're concerned about cancellations, airline cancellations. The impact is big, and the impact on the economy is massive. You know, if all airlines cancel flights tomorrow, think about the impact, think about the financial loss, think about how we're going to have to manage passengers, think about all the things that is going to follow that, think about change fees. Some of these international airlines don't give us a quota that if your flight was cancelled or you missed your flight because you couldn't make it to the airport, they're going to have to pay cancellation fees, change fees. We're now working with the airlines to see all the things we can do to kind of make sure that we can breach for it, but we don't know what to expect.
Yeah, we definitely don't know what to expect, but if it actually happens, can you estimate what that cost could be to your industry?
To my industry, we have a daily run rate of about 4 to 5 billion naira daily from the agency standpoint. Total industry is about, I think I would estimate about between 10 and 15 billion. So now you have a delayed sale of 15 billion in one day. That means that 15 billion naira of transactions that has occurred probably in the past or currently on that day will not be able to be used or consumed of services that has been paid for. So now we're going to have to now take that 15 billion and then domino it to another day. So it's really a loss. In retail, a sale that does not happen is called a loss. Yeah. So when the service is not provided, then it's a loss to either the service provider or the consumer who paid for it. So,
right, well, we'll all keep tracking, at this time. But let's get to other matters now in the industry. You see the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, they've put on hold that 800% planned hike. You know, we're seeing hikes everywhere. Yeah. But at the end of the day, any hike like this will be transmitted
back to the consumer.
Back to the consumers at this time. But so is this relief we're feeling at this time?
You know, it's a catch-22, right? And I don't know the P&L lines of NAMA, but I can just speak overall. I believe if we assume in good faith, right, that the planned increases was to cover the operational costs, like they said, you then have to start thinking that what are the operational costs? Decided diesel. That means that our national agency on space management is running on diesel. Like, those are some of the fundamental issues that I think is causing some of this economic turmoil is when the cost of operation goes up, they push it back to the consumer, who is poorer than they are last year. Dollar at this time last year was 741. Today, as of today, I think is 1,611. You know, when you think about those things, it gets passed down to the consumer, and the consumer becomes poorer as we go along. Like you said, for every increase that agencies do to cover probably operational basis, if we assume good faith, then it gets passed out to the consumer that is poorer than they are last year. So it's like it's like a vicious cycle of poverty that we continue to propel if we continue to increase prices without going back and fundamentally fixing some of our fundamental issues.
Right. So we see the government agencies also complaining about what we complain about, talking about diesel and exchange rate volatility. Quite interesting. But with this call off now, do you think we're out of the woods?
We're not. We're still seeing prices surging. Local flights is surging a little bit. Aviation fuel is expensive, you know, and as we continue to be a dollar-denominated economy, as it were, because a lot of things is purchased in USD, and the movement of USD impacts our daily lives. You see that the price of flights are going up. The average price of a London ticket is up 103%. So last year. So last month, I think it's up by 11%. You know, when you look at it, we're doubling what we used to pay in Naira terms, right? But in dollar terms, you know, it's relative now because dollar is up about 139% to last year. So again, the challenge is as we move from a dollar-denominated economy to a local producing economy, that's the only way we can find the solve to reduce some of our costing. If aviation fuel can be produced locally, if we can supply our airlines in Naira, you know, those are the places where we start to reduce our dependency on US dollars that drives the entire poverty scale, if you were to call it, of the entire economy. And the people don't make dollars. You know, we make Naira. A person earning 300K last year, and that is still earning even 350K this year, is poorer than last year. Because again, everything they pay for, even if they pay in Naira, there's a dollar behind it. So as dollar goes up from 741 to 1611, you know that they're paying more.
And definitely we've seen the federal government instruct the NNPCL to actually sell crude to refineries here in Naira.
Which is good news.
Yeah.
And those are some of the policies that I think is in the right direction, is as we just move away from dollar denomination to more Naira transactions, more local transactions in Naira, then the people will start to enjoy some of the benefit of Naira transactions that are at a lower value. Hopefully it's not still pegged against the dollar.
Yeah, because I'm up for anything that improves demand, you know, for the Naira at this time. We need to see more of that, you know, going forward with policy direction. But you did mention, you know, the airfares and how they've risen, you know, compared to last year. But when I look on social media, I'm seeing everybody still traveling for summer at this point. So I'm wondering what's happening with demand.
That is incorrect. And I think we live in data.
Right.
There are 35% less passengers than last year. We've seen air travel shrink year on year. Planes are still getting full because it might be sometimes the wrong indices. Some airlines are bringing smaller aircraft than they did last year. We're seeing capacity actually shrink than last year. And overall, we see a 35% decline in consumer travel. Corporate travel is a little bit off. Post-COVID, this is where corporate travel is starting to recover. So corporate travel can give us that mirage of travel, which is not really consumer travel. But on the B2C side, which is the business consumer side, what we're seeing is a 35% decline. We have a product called Pay Small Small at Waka now, where people can buy and pay small small. We're seeing a surge. People that you will not believe. Typically, we don't see business class customers do pay small small. You know, now we're seeing a lot more business class customers do pay small small. That tells you how necessary travel, necessary vacations, but people are now planning it ahead because they are using pay small small to travel. And that just tells you how the shrinking income of the middle class is impacting travel. Some people are still adamant about going family vacation. They are saving up money. Some have saved up money all year round. And people are coming to the office to look for cheaper places to go. Is a cheaper destination. We've seen local travel also go up, which is super interesting. People are now going by bus, people are going by road, people are going to places like Benin. Casa de Papa in Benin is getting a surge because people are now going there to say, you know what, I'll just drive to the border and then take a local bus to go to Benin, to go get the time away from all the hustle and bustle of Lagos. We're seeing people from Abuja come to Lagos. We're seeing people from Jos come to Lagos for annual vacation, bringing families, coming to the beach. We've seen a surge of people going to the beach in Lagos, even though as our beach business are strong.
It's not about US and the UK, no, you know, at this time.
It's not. Yeah,
we're seeing movement within, so we're seeing a big substitution even in the travel agency, because you see, travel industry.
I should say that the consumer is also very resilient, and I should give some kudos back to the consumer. When you think about how poor the consumers are, and even we're just seeing a 35% decline, it tells you that the consumers are very, very resilient, and that people are. And that's what it's good about the Nigerian spirit, that an average Nigerian would always make a way or find one, and which is super interesting as we go in travel space.
Regardless of food inflation and headline inflation way off the roof at this time, we still stay resilient. Thank you so much, Mr. Bayo Adedeji's Group CEO, Wakana.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we're going to look at what's happening in the markets and another industry here. We're looking at the sachet spiritual industry at this point. We know that ban from earlier this year. We're discussing what's happening right now. That's in a moment. Just stay with us.
James, we're having some issues with the supply. Hello?
This is why I recommend Conga Corporate. Why get worked up when Conga Corporate is working? As companies strategize to save costs and increase profitability, Conga Corporate is your structured partner to supply all products your company needs nationwide. Conga Corporate, we save you time and money. Contact us at corporatesales@conga.com. End your power struggles with iPower Solution. Inverters, solar panels, and batteries. With hybrid inverters ranging from 1,200 watts all-in-one to a whopping 500 kilowatts. iPower is designed and produced by certified renewable energy experts from 5 countries in partnership with Zynos Technologies, specifically for Africa. Durable and cost-efficient power solution for your home, small offices, and large enterprises. What you see is what you get. Order now on Congo.com or any of our authorized distributors for same-day delivery in most cities in Nigeria. Terms and conditions apply. iPower. Empower tomorrow. Today.
Hello, Mr. James. We're having some issues with the supply. Hello?
This is why I recommend Conga Corporate. Why get worked up when Conga Corporate is working? As companies strategize to save costs and increase profitability, Conga Corporate is your structured partner to supply all products your company needs nationwide. Conga Corporate, we save you time and money. Contact us at corporatesales@conga.com.
Welcome back. Well, in February 2024, Nigeria's NAFDAC ordered the shutdown of sachet spirit production lines, prompting protests from workers who've feared massive job losses at the tune of over 5.5 million and livelihood disruptions. The House of Representatives intervened, forming a committee to review the issue. After considering stakeholders' arguments, the House unanimously passed a resolution in March 21st, 2024, urging NAFDAC to lift the ban, citing economic concerns and potential regulation solutions. Let's find out how that's going now. Join us to discuss. We have the president, FOTUB, that's the Food, Beverage, Tobacco Senior Staff Association of Nigeria in Abuja. That's Comrade Jimoh Oyibo. He's right there in Abuja. And then we also have Comrade Mike Olarawaju, General Secretary, National Union of Food, Beverage and Tobacco Employees of Lagos. And he's going to be joining me right here in Lagos. Great to have you, sirs. So let me start with you, Comrade Olarawaju. You know, we've seen, intervention from the House, at this point regarding the ban on sachet spirit. Talk to me about what's happening right now.
Thank you for having me here. And it's a pleasure to be here. And thank you, viewers.
Right.
It is a thing of urgent necessity that we need to create greater awareness, not only by government Nigerians, about this issue at stake, concerning the issue of sudden closure of plants for the production of sachet products. It started, we all agree, we are patriotic Nigerians. My name is Comrade Mike Olarawaju, as of right. I'm General Secretary of National Union of Food, Beverage and Tobacco Employees. We are so concerned about the health and at the same time about the viability of companies in our sector, that is food, beverage and tobacco sector. Suddenly, like you rightly mentioned, on February 2nd, NAFDAC went and closed their plants this is an arrangement that has been in place since 2018. They have been interfacing that, okay, on the need. Initially, they said they should reduce the volume of alcohol in this sachet, which they have done. And the manufacturers have been monitoring them, and in fact, below the international standard. And at the end of the day, they can't continue. They agree on period. However, when the period given reaches, ordinarily they meet periodically. They ought to call for a meeting where social time we are not going to allow it again. We are going to shut down. But surprisingly, there was no something like that. And as a matter of fact, the same NAFDAC agencies gave approval for new plants producing sachets. They inspected it and they gave approval. Even some few months to that period, they kept something that closed it down, thereby rendering the jobs of Nigerians, innocent Nigerians. You all know what the situation, how precarious the unemployment market is in the country.
Right.
So now, as within 1 week, we have lost in our members 500 workers, because the company have no choice. They were not expecting it. They have to shut down and to first of all dislodge some of the workers pending when they will finally close down the plants. So that was what motivated us to quickly intervene. We wrote at the National Assembly, call for hearing. We were invited and we were there. We presented our case. All the government stakeholders, including Standard Organization of Nigeria, road safety, police, custody, were there. And everybody, including that, initially the NAC director was hesitating to come. Okay. But eventually when she came, she was made to know the danger, even as much everybody, even the member of the House, know the dangers of, the benefit of protecting Nigerian health. But the solution to headache is not to cut off the head.
Okay, let me come to Comrade Jimo Oyibo right there in our Abuja studio. So definitely we know the issues at this point, and we've heard from NAFDAC, and they say that at this point is about the health, of Nigerians. And even me, when I'm driving sometimes, I see some of these bus drivers, they have a sachet in their mouth while driving. So, talk to me about what kind of regulation can actually work, in this kind of situation.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Honestly speaking, I think it's a situation where one individual claims to be more knowledgeable than the 360 National Assembly honorable members in the National Assembly, who on the 14th of March, had a resolution on this issue. And in that resolution, there was a circular directed to the DG NAFDAC to lift the ban because of the economic consequences of our actions. And then we were hoping that before now, because that was on the 14th of March, 14th of March to date is almost 4 or 5 months. We have not heard from her. And then it is unfortunate that some of us can be in our room and direct what is going to happen in this country. I don't think the NAFDAC DG is more interested in Nigerian children than the 365 National Assembly members who came up with that resolution. And sir, for us to also have a very good conversation over this issue, permit me to give you some of the highlights of the resolution in the National Assembly. The House of Representatives on Thursday, 14th March 2024, considered the above report as consequently resolved as follows. 1, that the ban should be lifted because the timing is inappropriate, given the fact that the economy is struggling. Unemployment rate is staggering and inflation rate is soaring, while the poverty level is on the increase with paucity of forest to do business. 2, that the ban of sachet alcohol should be replaced with the following prescribed regulations and access control, with emphasis, should be replaced with regulations and access control. establishment of licensed liquor stores and outlets in all local government areas across the country, making it unlawful to send underage persons to purchase alcoholic beverages, tightening enforcement by law enforcement agencies, increased monitoring and compliance checks by NAFDAC and others to ensure strict product quality in terms of content and safety. The producers of sachet should expose the dangers associated with the abuse of alcohol sachet products by boldly inscribing and enumerating the dangers on the packs as obtained in the case of the tobacco industry. We are using tobacco as a model now. When you look at tobacco, there is always this advert that says smokers are liable to die young. Up to today, we are still producing cigarettes. And that is what the employers have done over the years, inscribing on their labels, do not sell to underage. And adults drink responsibly. And in the first place, those products were not produced for children. They were produced for adults.
All right.
Somewhere along the line, we may have pockets of children having access to it.
Okay, Comrade Oyibo.
Exactly mean that all our children have access to this product. So
okay.
The DG NAFDAC is just a whipping sentiment.
All right, Comrade Oyibo, let me come in here.
There is no empirical evidence to support his claim that children have access to this product. Let me go further so that we guide this.
Comrade Oyibo, I don't know if you can hear me.
Okay. The government regulatory bodies should place more emphasis on regulation, monitoring and enlightenment campaign to educate stakeholders and the general public on the dangers of underage consumption of alcohol and its sales in motor parks. That enlightenment campaign should be carried out in secondary schools across the country as practiced by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLA, to educate students on dangers and vices associated with the abuse of alcohol. That parents, religious bodies, and non-governmental organizations, NGO, should be tasked to counsel their children or worse, especially the underage, on the danger of alcohol consumption.
Okay.
That regulatory mechanism should be strengthened to ensure enforcement and compliance. And of course, encourage legislation promoting recycling materials for green economy and minimizing importation of raw materials used in producing PET bottles and sachets to conserve foreign exchange. These were the resolutions.
Okay. Comrade Oyibo.
360 members of the National Assembly.
Okay. Comrade.
And I'm sure that this would have also been transmitted to the executive arm of the government.
All right, Comrade. Thank you. Thank you for that, Comrade.
Continue to insist that she will not leave the ban, which also means that one can safely conclude that I think there's a sinister motive behind her insistence.
Right. All right, comrades, thank you for that and sharing all of those documents. But let me come to Comrade Olarwaju now. So definitely looking at what NAFDAC has to do, you know, with monitoring and all of that, it seems that's a lot of work that's going to be put on NAFDAC, you know, at this point. But talk to me about why you feel that this ban has not been lifted, or is it maybe NAFDAC is trying to get more time, you know, before they actually lift this ban?
As a matter of fact, there's no justifiable reason. The NAFDAC is just trying to be unnecessarily difficult and overzealous. Not taking, in fact, we take it as a deliberate act of sabotage against the economic policy of the federal government. This is not the right one, like initiated in that.
But what does NAFDAC stand to gain?
That is what I'm telling you. That is just the question. They have not. They have. I know the DG may know what she's trying to protect, but definitely not the interest of Nigerians. Because we too, if you go through thoroughly the resolution of the National Assembly, you will see that they made a valid resolutions. And beside that, the dangers involved. What we're trying to do is to protect the health of Nigerians, especially the little ones, the vulnerable ones. But let me let you know, if this thing is phased out, just like that, without a systematic phase out, right now, you will be giving room for more companies to relocate from Nigeria We have seen so many companies. Our neighboring countries, they are ready to give rooms. Okay. And this product will be taken back. Okay, then all these local, as well, we are even endangering the life of Nigeria kids more because all these local concussions, like go to anywhere.
All right.
They will now resort to it and those costs and the content of those ones are even more dangerous.
All right, comrade, we've run out of time, but thank you so much for coming on, and definitely we'll be waiting to hear, from NAFDAC at this point to see what, they actually come up with and some kind of resolution, at some point. But thank you both for coming on. Comrade Jimoh Moyibo is the National President, Food, Beverages and Tobacco Senior Staff Association in Abuja. And we also had right here in Lagos, Comrade Mike Olarawaju, General Secretary, National Union of Food, Beverage and Tobacco Employees of Lagos. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so that's it from me on Business Morning today. Thank you for watching. We'll get you a close for the local boss that's later today. But I'll hand things over now to the Sunrise Daily team.
Peacefully. We have no any issue of vandalizing government property or any personal issue. We are only to see our voice. Let the world knows and let our leaders acknowledge that Nigerian youth are not locally ignorant of what is happening in their country.
Well, those are images circulating on the social media. Abdulaziz posted it. It happened this morning at about 7 a.m. in Goronyo local government area in Sokoto State. They say that they are protesting concerning the current situation in the country. But we also do understand that some of them are also asking questions of the state governments. They are saying that they've not provided enough palliatives or enough resources in the state to ensure that some economic concerns there are addressed. And so they're asking questions, not just at the federal level, but at the state government level as well today. And that's a conversation that we've been trying to have, really, about how people need to move away from looking at the federal government all the time and sometimes look at your direct governance structure and see what they're doing. And if they're not doing anything about your situation, you should be able to call them out. It is their right to do so, and they're exercising that right now. So we're keeping tabs all over the place to just bring you whatever information we have about what is happening. So moving on, this morning we've got two gentlemen joining us to talk about what may or may not happen tomorrow. We've got Mr. Adebayo Ojo, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice for Oyo State. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
And we also have Dr. Sulaiman, who is of the Ahmadu Bello University. He's also a lecturer, but he will be joining us much later. I will talk to you when he does. Mr. Ojo, thank you again for coming on, dragging you out this morning.
Always a pleasure to be here.
So it is an interesting scenario we've got on our hands, different perspectives as to what should be tomorrow. We know that the IGP has tried to engage severally. We know that some of your colleagues as well, SANs, also appear to be playing key roles in terms of what should happen tomorrow. But let's hear from you about what you think of this protest to be or not.
Thank you. Let me first say that protest is part of inalienable right of any citizen. It is legitimate right. Our court has ruled on that. Even the Supreme Court. You have the right to associate, the right to... It's a form of freedom of expression. But this planned protest, to me, is an ambush. It's a landmine for the government.
Ambush?
Ambush.
What do you mean?
A landmine. It's a plot. You get my point? And it is a stepping stone to a bigger plot, which the government will snip in the bud. Because the organizers are not sincere. Let me say this. If I concede and I agree that times are hard in this country, all of us are living through a least period, except for those who are stealing and preferring money for the government or from anywhere. But people that are working hard and having honest living, things are hard. Some are not even working to live. They are living to work. It is that bad. and government must do something about it. But for the organizers, the so-called organizers of the tomorrow protesters, they are idle, they lack focus, they are, and I believe they are being politically motivated or instigated.
So,
let me say this. You see, we all went to university or higher institutions.
Yeah.
You don't plan protest and fix a day for it. It's not rally. Okay, you plan rally.
People there were disagreements on that one.
I'm coming.
But could you talk to us?
Instantaneous.
So we don't want to lose this train of thought. When you say this is what are you ambush, and that it is a plan for something to come. What do you mean by that?
You see, Nigerians are bad loser. We don't cultivate or imbibe spirit of good sportsmanship. Look, politics, campaign are over. Winner has been declared. He has been sworn in. You ventilated your grievances in various courts, up to the Appeals Court. And Supreme Court has confirmed that will be the end. Up to today. And I start to be contradicted. Both the PDP presidential candidate and that of Labour Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Tobi, up to today, they've not congratulated the president.
So wait,
and that's anti-democratic and non-civilized.
Well, they say it depends on how you
see it. It does not depend. Look at UK.
No, but
look at it.
They're going to tell you.
If Trump wins tomorrow,
I know
they will call and congratulate him.
But that's not true.
They will be like President Donald Trump.
Trump didn't congratulate Joe Biden.
Because Trump is maybe his parent migrated from here.
But wait, who is ambushing who? Who is ambushing who?
Those people, those
ambushing who?
They are ambushing the government. What they fail to get at the poll, they're dreaming. They believe they can get it through.
That's what you
Some
mean
of them
by...
are saying, for example, revolution now. Which revolution?
But Mr. Joe,
yes.
Much as you say, when you said it was an ambush,
it's landmine.
It's a plot
they
of something.
They wanted to lay landmine for the government.
Something to come. People listening to you will think, wait a minute, is there more to this that meets the eye? But you just say now, when you now take it to persons who had contested and lost. Is that what you mean by it's an ambush?
No, I said what they failed to get at the poll and through the court. You know, when they lost at the poll, they placed all their hopes on the court. And they came with some cases that are so bad, and the court threw it away.
Lawyers,
they've seen another...
You always talk about evidence.
Yes.
Hard facts.
Hard facts.
When you say, these are persons who lost elections.
Yes.
What is your hard fact to say? Those persons you see on the streets there,
yes,
Mr. Adegboro and Mr. Falana, all of those persons, are they part of this ambush?
That's one part. You see, politicians use Nigerian human rights or social rights activists. Not all of them are sincere. In fact, I can say it authoritatively. I penned an article this morning, which I've circulated far and wide. 99% of them are fake. The lack of Banifawemi, Bamilela Turu, Femi Falana, the lack Chima Obani of blessed memory, the likes of them are very few.
So
others are impostors and pretenders.
Is Mr. Falana and Mr. Adegboro are defending fake people?
They are defending people who are pretenders, fake people. That's why I said the so-called the imminent protest. I said it's a ruse. It's a small screen.
I need to understand.
To cover, they are trying to
I need to
understand our eyes.
Just help me understand what you mean. When you say ambush, ruse, what's the plot? What's the plan?
The plot, the plan is to destabilize the government. They've not given up since they lost in court. You know, initially, after the election, they were even saying, no, the result must not be declared. They tried.
So do you have evidence?
Orubebe and what's the other guy?
How did you come to that conclusion?
What's the other man? The man from Kano, from Kogi. Yeah, you know Malawi style.
How did you come to that conclusion? Do you have any documentation?
When I talk from an informed opinion.
So let's hear the facts. What are the facts that have informed this?
That informed this. If you look at all those who have been supporting this, bring my point. You see the spring, Arab Spring, when it happened, it started in Egypt, and it spread like wildfire all over the Middle East.
And
I'm coming.
This one.
That was a genuine, spontaneous and instantaneous. But when someone now say, we are planning, we meet somewhere, we did it. Protests are not done that way. I am an expert in public protest.
Because I know that you have protested before.
No, I've protested before. That was
so when you
the last time I stopped.
Let's talk about
during the Ebony or Sapriot.
It was the structural adjustment program
and
riot.
Ebony.
Okay, so you protested during those riots.
Those riots.
Tell us about them. What made you come out to protest?
I was a young student then. I was in Jambite in my first year at University of Lagos. And we were led by the nose by our SUG president then, Philip Madodutimi in Unilag. We were deceived. They said they've seen Ebony, Babangida, something in Paris. He owned this. Tatulari too. And I believe with Tatulari. Because of him, I joined the fray. Believe me. Later, we got to know that there was something like that in Ebony. And when they asked for Tatulari, they said, Mr. Tatulari, this is the Ebony magazine of so date, which you have to say, oh yeah, show us. Where was that article? But he couldn't see anything. My mentor...
Didn't Mr. Philip plan it? But Mr. Philip planned it.
Mr.
Philip, he planned it.
He planned, yes, he led us by the nose because we were gullible.
But he planned
and that's what these people are doing too. For those who are gullible. I'm not gullible, my eyes are open. I'm an adult now.
Okay.
I'm 55 years old.
Do you think that we need to end bad governance in Nigeria? Do you agree with that?
I agree. In the first place? I agree. I've always said it here. I do not how you can hear it.
Okay. Look, so if you agree with that, hold on.
Yes.
If you agree that there is bad governance in the country,
yes,
don't you think that there will be people, genuine people, who want to speak up about this bad governance? Do you think that they should be allowed the space to ventilate?
I've written articles.
Do you think that people who believe that they are victims of bad governance should be given the space to ventilate?
Yes, very well. And let me tell you how to do it. Not by causing unrest or going on frivolous and senseless protests. Look, all of us are guilty. Julius Caesar, William Shakespeare and Julius Caesar said, the fault they have put us is not in our stars, but in ourselves, for where the underline is. Did you join politics? Did I join? People who are there are bad, majority of them are bad people who don't know their right from the left, their left and from the right. They are politicians. But all of us who are professionals should join politics so that we become professional in politics. After, I give you an example. When I was commissioner, I was appointed by Senator Abiola Ajimobi. And when the election was coming, he said, I don't want any technocrat. Ojo, and all of you, Ojo, Sack, who is now the chair of FRS. Nobody to call himself technocrat. I want to make politician of you. Go out to your ward, to your local government, go and join politics. And the day I went there, to my local government, they were happy to see me. They introduced the secretary to me. They said, this is the chairman, this is the vice chairman, and they said, this is legal advisor. I look at him, I said, Baraluku, they called this is legal advisor. I said, Baraluku did not have school cert. And they said, those who have we seen them? That's in about the Southeast local government.
Okay.
A cosmopolitan local government.
So you say that Mr. Falana and Adegboro, they are defending fake people.
I said they are impostors.
The people that are defending are impostors.
Even most of them, they are not being sincere with this such stuff, yes. Okay. And they have other means, other motives, which they are. Look, I know a lot. So some of those behind it. Some of them struggle to become ministers under this man.
Do you think that
them didn't appoint them as ministers?
Do you think that Mr. Falana and Mr. Adegboro know their ultimate intent?
You see, when I mentioned sincere activists, I said Fawemi, Aturu, and Mr. Falana.
But he's allowed
I don't put those I did not add. Don't add them for me.
No, but he's defending the protesters now. He was in that meeting with the IG yesterday.
Let me tell you, Mr. Falana. If Mr. Falana becomes governor or president of his country today, and if he's driving in his convoy and he see people protesting, he will jump down and join them because it has become part of him. That is his life.
Okay.
He will tell us we are forgotten that he's president.
Dr. Ahmad Sulaiman.
They don't love peace. They love. We are used to all those wars.
Well, Dr. Ahmad Sulaiman also.
He's a genuine activist.
Well, Dr. Sulaiman, tell us which one you are now. I mean, I'm looking to see Ahmadu Bello University legal practice. So please, good morning first of all, and thank you for joining us on the program from our studios in Kano. So what is your impression about how all of this is playing out? Because first of all, we understand, how are the streets of Kano? Are there policemen and security all over the place, as some say? We can't hear you at the moment. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Morning.
Now, it's not a laughing stock. We're at a serious cross point in Nigeria. We're at a serious crossroad. I'm surprised with what I'm hearing now.
whoever is in his sense and knows what is happening in Nigeria should fear for what will come. Three things are making me apprehensive of what is coming. First, the government itself seems it doesn't realize what is on ground. And the politicians that are supposed to advise the government properly are also, they seem either they know or they pretend not to know what is happening. But I want to ask you, Chamberlain, can we pretend to say there is no bad governance in Nigeria? Can we pretend to say there is no corruption in Nigeria? Can we pretend?
Dr. Sulaiman,
yes?
I don't know if you heard part of what Mr. Ojo has said earlier. Part of what he also said, he said, look, we acknowledge there are tough times. People are living to work, right? And some are working to live. And he's here. I do understand that there's a bad scenario, he said. But he also did say there are elements of those who had lost elections who are leveraging. In fact, I think he said there are those behind some of this protest to hijack certain things and cause disaffection, taking advantage of the situation that we are in economically. Can we deny that?
He will wake up from that slumber. He will wake up from that slumber. I was also sleeping like that during the EndSARS riot. You remember, Chamberlain, there was a program. I argued with you in that conspiracy theory. But I've woken up from that slumber. The reality of the situation in Nigeria is that things are so tense that government have to change its tactics. Do you remember about a month ago or 2 months ago in this studio, I advised that things are becoming so tense and government should urgently do something. Otherwise, the combustion will burst out. Have you now seen it bursting out? What I'm afraid, Chamberlain, put what I'm saying on the record. Government is missing the situation. And these people are missing the situation. All these conspiracy theories will not save us. Let us look at the situation on ground. I want you to look at how government is responding. Do you respond to such a situation by conspiracy theories? No. You look at the issues on ground. Do you respond to these by normal things? We heard on the radio, over the radio, that government is sending some relief to some governors to share. If things sent through governors or bureaucrats have been reaching the poor people who wouldn't have reached this stage, why do you keep on doing one thing for many years, for decades, without results?
Okay. Pardon me to jump in. It just needs to go back and forth so we can get the most out of everybody. Mr. Joe, you heard him say government is missing the point. And perhaps that suggests that you may also be missing the point if you don't.
No, I said, one must face facts. Things are hard now. Nigeria is living through the hell. It is hellish, except those who are not earning honest income. Those who are not living by their sweat. Get my point? And they're not in government alone. They're everywhere. People are used to cut corner. If I know his background, I can explain him for you. I don't know his background, I don't know what he does.
The lecturer, I'm at the Bedo University.
Even in universities too, in every tower, things are bad. They cut corners. Sexual harassment, they extort sex for marks, money for marks. You get my point? The Vice Chancellor, they receive allocation, they loot it just like government loots it.
Yeah, so
what are you talking about? So that's why I said this Nigeria. It's not government alone, no. And I just said, if you remove the...
So are you saying, although things are bad, people shouldn't protest?
No, I said, in advanced democracy, how do you end bad governance? You wait for 4 years, you vote them out. And again, this is democracy. What do? We have councillors that were elected across the country. They are chosen from among us, from our wards. We have state lawmakers. Yeah. We have House of Reps. We have senators. Go and lobby them.
In advanced democracies, they protest. They protest. There was a protest in Leeds a few days ago. There's protest in the United States. There's protest in France. There's protest around the world.
Those protests,
young people around the world.
They are not this type of orchestrated protest.
They are orchestrated protests.
They are doing rehearsal as if they want to act Nollywood. You know, we see where they've been doing rehearsal. All of them.
But
protests will be genuine, instantaneous, and real.
So does that then mean that the protest that former President Buhari participated in
with the current president,
yes, was it fake?
Why they're not real? They were concentrated with a plot with that, and you know, You know what? You know that Buhari rode into power on the basis of that protest. That gave visibility. Because before that time, nobody would touch Buhari with a pole.
So now you're saying what goes around comes around?
Yes, I agree with you.
Ayo.
Brilliant. Just one or two things that I want to raise with, Mr. Ojo. The question is, Nigerians have been protesting for a long time. A good number, some people have even put that out in social media. Nigerians have been protesting. They protest when they go to the market and see that the tomato now costs a lot more than it was yesterday. Nigerians have been protesting about electricity rates even before this government came into power. Nigerians have been protesting about food, about shelter, about clothing, about everything. But it would seem like the only time any government, be it state or local or federal, pays attention is when a protest is called. Why should that be the case? So when Nigerians are calling and the government is not listening, why should the people listen to the government now?
Let me say this. It's unfortunate that we don't have data or valid statistics or database in this country. You see, those behind this protest, let me say, they are very boisterous and noisy
Talk about
minority.
Those issues that people have been complaining about. Just a second.
Who want to wag our dogs.
People have been complaining about for a long time, but governments have not been listening. Now, government wants the people to listen. Why should the people listen when these issues have been raised by people for a long time and no one has listened to them?
Let me say this. I don't know why government is stopping them from embarking on protest. Let them protest.
Let's look away from the protest, Mr. Ojo. Let's look away from the protest. Just a second. Let's look away from the protest. You're not answering the question. Yes. There are issues on ground before people called for a protest, and government has not listened.
Yes.
Why have those issues not been addressed? Yes. And it's only now that people are calling for a protest that government officials are coming out and saying that they should not protest.
I'm equally surprised. Because, you see, the first protest which I witnessed in my life was the Ali must go protest. And I was in primary school at Wesley Practice School, Ibadan. And there's a teacher training college here. And that was the first time I saw tear gas in my life. So they've been protesting. People have been protesting. Government have not been listening. But look, we all blame government. We've not searched ourselves too. All of us in this country, we need attitudinal mindset change. Let's change ourselves.
It's interesting, Mr. Ojo, that you mentioned our attitudes and all of those things, and you also talked about Ali Must Go.
Yes.
Ali Must Go happened 46 years ago, and those people in government at the time are no longer in government now. And guess what? It was about high cost of living. And up until now, we are still talking about the same thing. But let me ask Dr. Sulaiman, just a second. It was about high cost of living. You can do some background check. But let me talk to you, Dr. Sulaiman. So, again, from time to time, whenever we raise these issues, we are talking about the federal government. I'm asking you as well, because we've had all shades of opinion about this. But we talk about the federal government all the time. And it would seem like we are cutting the state government some slack. In Sokoto State, the multidimensional poverty is highest of 36 states, according to the data that came out in 2022. Yet there hasn't been any protest as to why poverty was so high. Why now? That's for you, Dr. Sulaiman.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much. This answered the question he raised before. The structures we have are not working. Why are they not working? Because of bad governance. Good governance ought to start from atop downward, but it's not working. And that is why we have to
good governance really start from the top or from the bottom, Dr. Sulaiman? Should good governance start from the top or start from the local governments?
So that is why we said the structure needs to be changed. That is why we said we need to wait and say, how do we change the situation? And this is what these youths are calling for. And that is why I said the federal government is not reading the situation properly. These boys are tired of corruption. These boys are tired of money not reaching its end point. These boys are tired of the economic system without thinking being taken by federal government, without thinking of the hard effect of those policies. And these boys have come out to give an ultimatum. Instead of addressing this situation, government is now coming up with conspiracy theories. Government is now coming up with the politicians here calling everybody fake, and calling everybody names. That is not what the situation called for. The situation called for federal government to sit down and ask itself, what do I need to reverse?
Let's see what happens tomorrow, the first day of August. Okay.
Because it's a house built with spiritual.
What do you mean failed? They won't come out?
No, it's a house built with spiritual. It will collapse and fall on their head.
Thank you for coming. Mr. Adebayo Joe is a senior advocate of Nigeria. And Dr. Sulaiman also is a senior law person as well, as he also lectures in Amadu Bello. But thank you both of you for coming on this morning. Okay, we'll have some messages coming through. Let's see how much of it we can take. This comes from Pastor Bin Daniel. He says, a government that is performing well should not fear protest. In fact, responsible citizens will not protest against a good government and governance. How do you expect the few percentage of the politicians do not buy fuel with their money, who don't go to market, not to fight genuine protesters? Well, the truth of the matter is that government should be responsible for those who will hijack the protest.
All right, we have this one from Paul Agbolade. In my opinion, it's a positive move considering the fact that the applicable exchange rate will be fixed. Okay, I think he's talking about something we talked about yesterday. So let me see if I can move on to Imonoka and Nakena. Protesters demanding better living wages, cuts in multi-taxation and recurrent expenditure, diversity in the economy, cuts in the interest rates and hyperinflation, availability of electricity and reduction in petroleum product price. And let's have workable refineries to banish fuel scarcity and irresponsible hoardings that lead to increase in petroleum prices.
Well, Festus Akinboyewa has this. Says, unfortunately, protests have never achieved any growth for Nigeria. There is no doubt that the foundations of our economy have collapsed and need a leader who is willing to make bold and difficult decisions to fix it. Those who want to protest and want fuel subsidies and exchange subsidies to return should tell us how they will be paid for. Let those who want to protest do so, but it's time to face reality. So many other comments coming from this, but we gotta thank you so much for the privilege of being a part of your morning. I'm Ayo Makinde. Do have a beautiful day ahead.
Well, before we go, Ayo and Chamberlain, it's important that we pay our respects to the elegant stallion who died in the early hours. At least we heard about her death in the early hours of this morning. The wonderful Onyeka Onwenu, who has passed at the age of 72. May her soul rest in peace. A national icon, one that we all loved, cherished, grew up on. Cannot forget how magical this woman was. And from all of us, we wish all of her family members the fortitude to bear this loss. And of course, to all the Nigerians who are mourning her death right now, know that we are with you in prayer.
Don't forget your name. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. You're watching ShopX TV, home to some of the most popular international brands in Africa. And we are now proud to introduce our biggest offer of the year, the ShopX Mid-Year Sales. From now until the end of July 2024, we will be offering our customers 20,000 Naira off this amazing kitchen collection. Tired of pans that scratch and stick or cookware that takes up valuable space in your kitchen? Introducing ShopX Gotham Hammered Copper Collection.
You would normally pay up to 364,950 Naira for the 10-piece Gotham Hammered collection. But call the number on your screen now or scan the QR code.